Haney Biz presents Entrepreneurs Unlimited. And here's your host, Mark Haney.
We are here with Lokesh Sikaria, managing partner, Moneta Ventures. How you doing today, Lokesh?
Very good, Mark.
Thank you very much for coming down today, and we want to hear the Moneta Ventures story, but we also want to know the story of Lokesh, right? You have done so many things in your life. Give us a little bit of your background and what led you to launch Moneta?
Sure. So I used to have a couple of IT services companies. So we did those IT services companies. They were based, one of them was based in Folsom. And at one point, we needed money, just like all entrepreneurs do.
I can relate.
Yes. So we looked for money in town, and we found that there weren't really too many local VCs investing. So when Moneta was formed, the idea was to be that local venture capital firm for Sacramento and be able to provide capital to companies like Sparta, who were successful but didn't necessarily have access to capital here.
So what happened with Sparta? You no longer were you able to have an exit with Sparta?
Yes, we were. At a company called KPIT Cummins basically bought Sparta out. And that was a very good thing for all our employees because a lot of them had stock in the company.
Yes. And we were introduced by our good buddy, David McDaniels. And David and I have known each other since we were little kids. And he told me that I needed to talk to you. And since then, we've been reconnected by Kevin Nagel, and I'm getting invested in your fund. And so I expect to learn a lot from you, not only today, but in the years to come. Lokesh, now, okay, so you started Moneta, and how long ago was that, and what happened after you started it?
So we started it 2.5 years ago, and we thought we'll start a small $10 million fund with some decent portion of that money being my own money and all of that. So we get going, but because Sparta had done so well for our investors, basically every dollar invested in Sparta ended up being $4.93 for our investors. And so we underestimated the excitement that was around this, and we ended up with basically a $25 million fund, with goals of reaching 10.
Everybody wants to be around Lokesh. And the name Lokesh, it kind of sounds like low cash, but it's not even close to that, is it?
No, I joke about that all the time. I said, people never forget my name when I introduce myself that way.
Lokesh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it should be Mocash. So what kind of companies do you invest in, Lokesh?
So we invest 75% of our portfolio is in technology companies. So technology companies doing revenues between $500,000 to $5 million per year. So that's 75% of our portfolio. And then 25% of our portfolio is healthcare companies. So typically healthcare services companies, maybe in telemedicine or healthcare technology companies. So that's 25% of our portfolio there.
What about startups that haven't come across any revenue yet?
So in Fund 1, we were fairly risk averse, and that's a strange thing to say as a VC because our business is based on risk. But in Fund 1, we were comparatively more risk averse, so the criteria was $500,000 to $5 million in revenue. But as we look to launch Fund 2, we are actually going to fund companies that don't necessarily even have revenue at this point.
Okay, so that's a little bit more of a risky bet for you.
Absolutely, and we feel more and more comfortable being, a VC. Remember, Moneta was the first time I was a VC, and it was the first fund. So first time VC with the first fund, that's a deadly combination.
But you have managed to get the second fund. It's in the process of launching as we speak. And why did you select technology for 75% of your portfolio and 25% for healthcare? Why not? There's so many other things you could invest in.
So two reasons. One, the three founders that we have in Moneta all have technology backgrounds. We worked for technology companies. That's where we came from. That's what we knew. We added healthcare because we felt, healthcare was a hard area to be in. And if you're going to be the VC for Sacramento, you almost need to be in healthcare and technology. And in Fund 2, actually, we are adding ag tech.
Ag tech, okay.
So we'll have ag tech, healthcare, and technology. And that's all primarily trying to grow towards what this region produces, right? So Sacramento is known for AgTech. Sacramento is known for healthcare. So that's what the intent is.
How much of your investment will be here in the Northern California region?
So when we started out, people said, "Well, you won't find enough deals in Northern California, and more importantly, in Sacramento. There are not too many investable companies," and that's been completely proven wrong. We saw some incredible companies in the process, and 13 out of our 16 investments are in the greater Sacramento region.
Okay, very much of it is there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when you just thinking for people who are thinking about at what stage should I be looking for venture capital? And for you guys, it's in that $500,000 to $5 million range. So really the smaller companies. But you look to really grow the company once you get involved. Typically, what kind of growth do you look for?
So we are looking for these companies to aspire to be at least 50 million to 100 million in revenue, right? That's what we are, we want them to have a business plan which takes us there. And we help them get there, right? So that's the other thing that's kind of unique about us. The way we figured it out was that if it was on our ability to pick the right companies, there's nothing to say that we would be better than average, because remember, this is first time VC with a first time fund. So we said, how can we change the game where we can actually help these companies and bring our entrepreneurial experience to bear?
Besides your entrepreneurial experience, how much does your technology experience help to grow the companies?
So one of my partners, Vaibhav Nadgowda, he comes from a very strong technology background. So I would say personally for me, I'm neutral on technology. I can understand it, but I'm not necessarily the guru for technology. But in our team, we have somebody who's incredible at understanding it and providing value there.
And just thinking about our topic today of thinking on your feet, and we talked a little bit about making tactical decisions. What kind of tactical decisions do you make where there really isn't a lot of time to call a timeout in the middle of the game? Are there situations like that you put yourself in?
Oh, absolutely. A lot of times entrepreneurs will come to us and say, we're raising $4 million and we are already $2.8 million. We already have money, $2.8 million. And we're looking to raise the remaining $1.2 million. So it might not give us enough time, as much as we would like, to really dig into them and kind of find the, how good they are and do the due diligence in that level of detail. So a lot of times you are having to make gut calls.
Ah, yes. And when you are making that gut call, how much does the personality of the CEO or the founder play in your investment decision?
Oh, very big part. Life is too short to be surrounded by people that we don't like.
Yes, yes.
So we make sure. That those are people that we can get along with them. They are open to listening and coaching and teaching us in return, right? So we look for good individuals who have heart.
Last week we had Troy Feist on the show, and he's built a chain of restaurants, and he has business partners in his restaurants, and he said that the way he chooses his business partner is, would I drive 20 minutes to go have a beer with this guy? Is that sounds like kind of a gut call like you might make?
Absolutely. That's a nice way of putting it.
Yes. You got to surround yourself with people you like. Now, you just on the personal side, you didn't grow up here in the Sacramento area. Where'd you grow up?
So I grew up in India, and I actually have a funny story about how I got here. My dad used to import U.S. wheat.
Okay.
And he was invited by Senator Bob Dole and the U.S. Wheat Association to visit Kansas. Well, he comes to Kansas, loves the U.S., and says, well, you got to get an education here. So it was kind of decided for me that I needed to be here in the U.S.
So who needed to get the education here, you or your dad?
Me.
Oh, you did.
I did.
Your dad.
So I was 14 years old at that time, and it was pretty much decided on that trip that I would come here and do my undergraduate degree.
And what would you say to your dad right now about that decision?
I said he was a wise man.
Dad, you did it again. That's awesome. And then, did you grow up in Kansas then?
No, so
After you moved here, I mean,
so I came to school at Berkeley.
okay, so that's when you came as in college. You
In
went to
college, so I did my 4-year electrical engineering, computer science at Berkeley.
Berkeley. Nice.
And
Same place as Steve Wozniak, right?
Yes,
Apple.
Yes, and but decided at the end of it that maybe engineering wasn't for me. Maybe I was more interested in business, and so took a job with Pricewaterhouse.
Oh, okay.
And they sent me on
The
a
big
project.
accounting firm.
Yes, exactly.
So you have are you a CPA too?
No, I am not, but it was on their management consulting side, and they sent me on a project here at Intel. That's how I first landed in the Sacramento Folsom area. Loved it, and decided that this is where I was going to be.
You liked it better than Berkeley, it sounds like.
Well, I loved Berkeley too, but I just liked the fact that this was one of those suburbs and nice, clean, neat.
It is a nice town. It is a nice area to live in. Now, you're a Cal grad, and I don't know, are you a Cal football fan at all?
Oh, I am.
Oh, you guys got the number one. You got Jared Goff, right, the quarterback, the first player taken in the draft. I mean, taken by the Rams. How'd that make you feel?
Oh, just the fact that the number 1 draft pick was from Cal just made me feel super. I mean, that was awesome.
Go Bears.
Go
All
Bears.
right. When we come back, we're going to meet some entrepreneurs that are doing something very cool. We all know when we're in a hurry at a restaurant after a meal and you're waiting for the check to arrive. You ever been tempted to dine and dash? Maybe? Well, coming up after the break, you will meet Sacramento's own Sonny Mayugba and his co-founder, Coco Barnum, and they have the mobile application that allows us, to reserve the table, enjoy the meal, and then not have to wait around for the check. This is Entrepreneurs Unlimited on Facebook Live, also streaming live broadcast at haneybiz.com. Welcome back, and we are here with Tom Cisneros, Entrepreneurs Unlimited. We've been talking with some great guests today, and the subject has been, how do you handle it when you're in a must-win situation? The game is on the line. You got to be able to think on your feet. These tactical decisions that we all have to make in sports, but we make them in business every day, Tom.
In life, every single day.
So how many times a day are you at your very best?
Oh, man.
Does that happen?
It's never enough. I mean, it's never enough. As much as I'd like to look in the mirror and say, yeah, man, I'm on target every single day, it just doesn't happen.
So we talked at the beginning of the show about, do you kick a field goal as you're going into half, and how do you approach that as a coach? How do you approach that situation? And I think if you haven't been there before, it can be stressful, it can be nervous, and one of the first things you think about doing is panicking, right?
Yeah.
And like they did on the airplane. You were on the airplane, and everybody panicked because of the turbulence. And when things are stressful, sometimes we panic. But to take the stress out of the equation can be such a big benefit. And I have I have a few thoughts on that, and I think it's about living full speed and creating a full speed philosophy, right? We all know that your philosophy is the way we think, right? The philosophy is how we think, and your philosophy leads to your attitude, which leads to your actions and which ultimately leads to your outcome, whether you win or not, whether you win that football game or not, whether you make the right decision. So as we think about winning in these stressful situations, there's times when we go through the day and we're really not at our best. We're really not at full speed. We're really not treating it like game situation. We're not treating it like a must-win situation. We're treating it like just another day at the office. But I would submit to you that when we treat our day or a part of our day like a must-win situation, even though it's just an ordinary day, that's when we get the experience to live at full speed. That's when, if I'm a football coach, I'm going to practice that situational game plan during practice so that when it comes down to game time, I know whether I'm going to kick a field goal or not.
Isn't that the difference really between ordinary and extraordinary?
Well, I think if you think about the most successful people you know, and we talked to Sonny a little bit, and the amount of hours that these guys work, especially as a startup, and the intensity that they have to put in order to get something launched that's as difficult to do as what they're doing. you've got to play at full speed. You've got to be having that full speed attitude. You have to think full speed. And I always think, what if I just tackled a full day at full speed, right? I was the first guy to get there in the morning, and I opened the front door for the people as they came in, handed them a cup of coffee, and just as my job is to help people have throw a party what people want to come to.
Right.
And if I was at my best, wouldn't I just take it to that extra limit to really be at my very best?
I think
really
that would
be at full speed.
Wouldn't that also help the people that you're working with and surrounding yourself with be their best? If you kicked it off that way, and I mean, you'd be the Pied Piper, right?
Yeah,
You'd be
if we
leading them,
really
leading them
wanted
into
to win,
battle.
any of us, I think if we really wanted to win, wouldn't we try to discover what full speed is to us? It might not be football. You might not have a front door of your office, but as you think about what full speed is to you, what creating a real must-win situation is for you, that's how you practice it. So whether it's a construction site and you're at your very, very best, you're going full speed, that affects your outcome.
Without a doubt.
That affects your outcome. And as we were talking to Marcus, Marcus called in, said, "How you guys doing?" I was telling him the topic, and I asked him, so when you were in the military, did you guys have things that you did to prepare for the full speed things that you were about to approach? He said, yeah, before combat or before we deployed to Afghanistan, we had what we call workups, and we would practice at full speed, though, always at full speed. And he said he said, "Dad, it's weird. After I got shot, I put the tourniquet on, and it was like second nature."
Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
I mean, something that catastrophic, and he didn't even give it a second
He
thought.
said, I don't think he'd ever really talked about it like that before. He said, it was kind of like second nature now that I think about it. And so I would suggest to all of us that we think about full speed. And I would say one of the things that helps me to get grounded, whether it be the deep breath that Coco was talking about, but I always think, there's probably a scout in the crowd, somebody watching that helps give me that confidence where maybe I can go full speed. Maybe it's my wife. A lot of times it is. It's my kids. It's my business partners, my team.
Your dad watching over you.
Yeah. There's those silent scouts in the sky that definitely looking out for us. So thank you guys for sharing your morning with us today.
Yeah.
Thank the brave men and women that are fighting for this country and giving us the freedom to dream big, freedom to build businesses, to live life full speed. Never above you, never below you.
Always by your side.